RC here. So we're going to talk today about why you hear me say that we're walking the bridge all the time and what I mean by that. So this is going to be me explaining two different things here. I'm going to explain what I mean by that first, and then I'm going to explain the difference between telling if you're like in that chasing desperate energy or if you're actually like just having a moment. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this video is not for everybody. Some people might think they're still walking the bridge, but they're still in that shit headspace. So, what I mean as a coach when I say you're always walking the bridge, if you are manifesting something and something shows up in your reality that looks the opposite of what you're manifesting, or it looks like nothing's happening, or your brain can't logically connect the dots right now, you're walking the bridge. Okay? So the bridge is the bridge. It's weird. It never makes sense until the end comes together. And you want to train your mind to see every single thing out there as the bridge of events. And once you do that, when you have something show up in your reality that doesn't look favorable to what you're manifesting, you're not going to jump down the rabbit hole of, oh, I messed up, I'm doing it wrong, something's not right. So you may hear people say, don't check your 3D, but then if you see something in your 3D that doesn't align with what you want, then you're doing something wrong. And I'm going to tell you right now that that's very contradicting. So you should not be checking your 3D to that extreme. Yes, you might have moments where you do slip and check. Yes, sometimes that is a part of the bridge. I will admit that too. But we'll talk about like what I mean by the desperate state in a moment, because I feel like that's going to tie into this. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is this. You don't want to, like, if you are in a good headspace and you've maybe had moments where you slipped in and out of the wish fulfilled here and there, because you're not going to be in it 1,000% of the time. You're not going to be perfect, but you have moments because you're a human. You have feelings and emotions and hormones. If you feel like you've been in a good place and then let's say you get some movement and then let's say it looks weird and you're like, the first thing you think is because you've been taught that if something's not right out there, it's your fault. Okay, but what if it really is just the bridge? And you know you've been in a good headspace, then it really is probably just the bridge. And only you can make that call. You have to trust your intuition. Have you been in a good headspace 90% of the time? Anytime you think about your specific person or your desires, do you feel like that can happen? Do you feel like you're thinking about that in a good way? If you're a specific person as a third party, are you not really putting a lot of focus on it? Are you feeling indifferent towards that person? If that's how you're feeling and you're going about your 3D reality like that and you're in that place of like you're enjoying the current reality, you're not really in a waiting energy, you feel really good, maybe some moments you have emotional outbursts where maybe you do get a little frustrated with the timing factor, which is normal. Then you have something happen in your reality that doesn't align with what you're manifesting. Oh, that's the bridge. That is 1,000% the bridge. And I want you to retrain yourself to think that way if you know you've been in a good headspace, because it is very dangerous territory to sit there and go backwards and say, oh, I messed it up, doing something wrong. Then you're changing your assumption. And then your subconscious is saying, oh, okay, so let's show everything that's opposite, because that's obviously, that's what you're thinking. So therefore, then you're shown more opposite of what you've been like manifesting. So it feels like it's almost like backtracking. So the reason why I don't want you to get hung up on, okay, if something out there doesn't show up the way you desire it, or if you are seeing movement and it's the opposite of what you're manifesting, don't jump to saying you're doing something wrong. Now, if you're in an energy where you're interacting with your specific person and they're treating you like shit, or they're in this disgusting old story and you are sitting there entertaining the heck out of it because deep down you are scared to death you were going to lose that person forever, and that this is what you deserve all these breadcrumbs, you deserve the bare minimum, you deserve less of a relationship, and you're chasing, you're interacting, you're manipulating. Let's say you're also checking on the 3D, you're obsessed with the 3D, or you're obsessed with the 3P, the third party. You're watching their stuff, you're watching the third party, you're interacting with it, you're manipulating, you're talking about it nonstop in a sense of knowing you're not going to get it. Because you can talk about your manifestations and be in a headspace of knowing that you're going to get it, right? And I don't mean the delusional of, oh, I have it right now, but more so like, oh, I know this is happening. If you're in that other energy of like, you fear this isn't working, you're looking at everything outside of you to try to like find that golden ticket to manifest this, my dear, you are not walking the bridge. You are still stuck in old story. So that might have been the most extreme, like, explanation of that, but that is seriously, when I can talk to someone for 5 minutes and tell if they're in the wish fulfilled or if they're not. People get hung up on thinking they need to be perfect. Just because you went from the worst situation, you were acting out, you were freaking out, you were emotional, and then you've gone to this neutral headspace, and then maybe at times you're like, okay, I'm doing really good, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, I really hate this timing thing. Can this just speed up? That's normal, especially if you're manifesting a specific person, guys. When it comes to like other desires that are not like a romantic relationship, you're not sitting there like missing or desiring money to cuddle money, or like you need this career stuff to work out because you need this interaction or something. I don't know. When you're manifesting a specific person, like, it's normal to desire physical intimacy. It's normal to desire all of that. And sometimes the timing factor comes in, and sometimes we do check the 3D. If you know you've been in a good headspace and you're not like heart pounding, oh my God, if I check this, I'm so scared, what am I going to see? If you're like that, that's different. But if you're in a headspace of like, let's just say maybe you're out with friends and one of your friends like shows you a random picture and goes, oh my God, look, your specific person is hanging out with so-and-so. And that person that they're hanging out with is like really, really close with like maybe your family or something. That's a bridge. That person is being pulled into your energetic field. A lot of times when we're manifesting and we, put that energy out there, it's going to be reflected back. Their energy is going to pull towards us. Some way, some shape, some form. We may not always see that, but we will, it's there, right? Like, that's just how it works. So like maybe let's say one day you upload a picture on Facebook and like your specific person's like mom or best friend happens to see it and is thinking, wow, I really wish that so-and-so would get back together. That's movement, but you don't always see that movement behind the scenes. But see, sometimes we get too stuck on thinking we need to see things in order to believe it. And this is kind of me going into another topic here. Movement happens. You need to feel indifferent towards it. You do not need to get obsessed with movement. The second you get obsessed with it, you're going to start noticing it's not there. And the more you notice something, the more it grows, right? What you focus on grows. So if you're like, oh, it's not here, you're going to keep not seeing it. Don't depend on movement. Do not depend on movement. I know it feels good, chemically speaking, in our brains to have movement, but we don't need to rely on it. We need to remind ourselves that if this is not the end, then it's not the end yet, and that we're not going to accept little breadcrumbs. Movement, for example, let's just say your SP decides to unblock you and adds you on social media. That is not the end, baby. You need to keep going. You need to keep persisting. That's breadcrumbing energy. That's bare minimum. Them following you, no, they need to reach out to you, right? Especially in the case of anyone who's like maybe had problems in the past where they were like chasing. And let me just also talk on action, because I know someone's probably listening to this and being like, well, do I take action? Trust your intuition on that. If you know you're taking action, but you're coming from a place of like needing this to work out or fearing like, oh my gosh, I have to control this, then you don't need to be doing shit. If you know that like you will spiral, back up. Your manifestations will always find you. Okay? You don't need to like, the inspired action will happen without you even knowing, right? Like, just like, for example, if you're manifesting a job and you're like, maybe you're late for work and you go into the coffee shop real quick and then you run into someone and they're talking about something that, some type of business idea that you've had. Excuse me. Y'all start talking and y'all hit it off, and boom, y'all start preparing to open up some type of business, right? That's inspired action. That's you being at the right place at the right time. You won't know that until afterwards. That is why you need to relax and trust in the knowing that this desire is going to show itself at some point. I have had crazy situations unfold before in my life, and it's because I let go of the outcome. You know, especially with money or career, guys, we get really hung up on that. With SP stuff, it's like, you know who you want, it is what it is, blah, blah, blah. But with career and money, it's like we have this mindset of like how money has to come to us. Like, it has to be from our job, right? Or like career-wise, like we have to take this path. And a lot of times our ego is really tied in to how we receive our career financial situations. And so you want to just be open-minded. And I mean, same thing for SP stuff, especially with the movement. Be open-minded. You might think, oh, my SP is going to reach out to me and that's how it's going to unravel. But let's just say, like, this is the craziest, like, way I'm going to explain this, so bear with me. But let's just say your best friend gets in a fender bender and boom, they hit your SP, and then your SP starts talking to your best friend, and then they start talking about you, and then they, you know, your best friend calls you and tells you, oh my God, you won't believe who I spoke to today, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's sometimes how things unravel. Like, you don't need to be set on a certain way that this is going to show up. All right. This is a longer video. Normally I save these for the podcast, but I just feel like somebody needed to hear this. You're always walking the bridge unless you know that you're not in the best headspace. Only you will know that, and you need to be honest with yourself. A lot of times we go into autopilot where we think that we can, like, just ignore the actions we're doing. For example, you're like, oh, I'm going to creep on my SP, even though deep down you know I probably shouldn't, but I need the answer, because you're needing to control this. Let go of control. Release that, because right now you got a tight grip to your manifestation, and it can't grow unless you release it. Let it be, right? And everything out there is movement, and everything is the bridge if you see it that way. I have gotten to a point on my journey where I have completely detached from things in my reality. When I have movement happening, I'll just give you guys a little example here real quick. Most of you know I've been studying to become a therapist, marriage family therapist. Yes, I do want to integrate manifesting into it somehow. Not sure how that's going to unravel, but regardless of that, I got a really great internship situation. And at least I felt like it was, but I kept being hit with roadblocks and I did not understand why. And a part of me was like too hyper focused in on like, I need to do things this certain way, but I just released it. I just stopped. I chilled. And then, I detached from it. And I remember one day, like, watching the bridge unfold, I ended up calling this other location, and I was just chatting with her because I was asking questions about, private practice as a therapist and all that stuff with her. And she was like, so like in awe of me. She was just like, oh my God, like, you have to work for me. And I was shocked. I didn't know that was the bridge. That was the bridge. That was the bridge for my manifestation of my desire to have a dream job set up, right? Did I feel bad a little bit? Yeah, because my internship won. I've been hit with nothing but roadblocks there. I've been hit with nothing but like problems or miscommunications. And also, I'm not going to lie, the pay felt like it wasn't to my value. And I'm not okay with that settling. And I got frustrated with myself because I'm like, why do I feel like this is like, I just felt like I was itching to get out of this, right? And I was getting mad at myself. Like, you need to stop. You need to be okay with where you're at. But there's a reason for that, because that was supposed to open up something else. And the bridge, I would have never expected it to unravel the way it did. And now I have a amazing job offer at a place that it's a dream place that most people in my, career path have to struggle before they get to that. But I don't have that assumption. I assume that my value is so worthy that people see that and I get what I want. right? Because I'm deserving of that, right? That's how it works. So, again, the bridge is always the bridge. Don't stress it. When I had that moment of freaking out a little bit mentally, like frustrated with myself, I released it and I did not question it. I did not say, oh, look at you, you're going backwards. This is not working out. Nothing works in my favor, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I sat there and I just detached. I felt indifferent to what was going on in my reality, and that pushed things forward for me. And once I was able, when you're able to be in the observer like energy, when you're in that observer energy, you're able to detach from the emotions, right? That's why as a coach, like, it's easy for me to talk on the phone with you guys, and like within the first 20 minutes, I know exactly what the hell you need, right? Because I'm not emotionally attached to it as you are. And sometimes I've had clients come to me, and like, I remember specifically one client, they'll know who they are. They came to me one time, this happened multiple times, and they would be like, what's going on? Like, I'm literally being met with roadblocks. Like, I remember one time, and I've said this to other clients recently, this one specific client was like, you know, pretty much got ghosted. And she's like, why? Like, my self-concept's great. What's going on? Babe, it's the bridge. It's literally the bridge. And what happened? A couple days later, her SP came in. So this is how powerful you are. Your God self will always find you and find the way to open this up, right? So it knows it's one step ahead of you. And you can think higher power, you know, whatever. But it's one step ahead of you. It's always one step ahead of you. So when you're sitting there in your ego mind feeling rejected because, not this client, but I'm just saying an example. You're feeling rejected because maybe you're not getting, maybe you've put yourself out there and you're wanting to date a little bit and enjoy yourself while you're manifesting your SP, because a lot of people do that. Nothing wrong with it. And then you're being constantly met with roadblocks. It's the bridge, because your God self knows that if you open that can of worms right now, and you're going to be like, what's going to happen? It's going to delay your manifestation. And your God self sees it as you think this way, you desire it, it's here, it's got to show up, right? So it's not going to delay it. And that's how powerful you freaking are, man. That little things that look like roadblocks, just like when I was with my internship one, I kept being met with like roadblocks, miscommunication, and things like that. And something within my soul did not feel right. And I ignored it because I'm like, no, you need to act right. You need to humble your little self. You're being extra, right? But in reality, I wasn't, because I was supposed to be somewhere else. And that is how fucking powerful we are, okay? Again, if you want coaching, story highlights, coaching, and then send us a private DM, please check the prices before you book with us, guys. It's kind of tiresome when you guys won't do that, and then we have to go out of our way to do that. Just check. It's literally on our page. Send us a private DM or email, and we'll go from there. All right? So I hope this video helped. I felt like this kind of was podcast energy, but whatever. And, yeah, I will be answering the questions on Spotify sometime today or tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. All right? Bye, guys.